Hi, and welcome to our Wavelength podcast. Today's episode is about someone who meant the world to Heather D. Parry, the legendary Jimmy Buffett. For 10 years, Heather toured with Jimmy Buffett as one of the members of the Coral Reefer Band, becoming part of the live experience that made those concerts so unforgettable. She lived the music, the travel, the electrifying energy of the crowds, and the behind-the-scenes moments, and the humanity of the man so many people knew as a legend. Jimmy Buffett gave millions of people a sense of joy, freedom, escape, and community. For Heather, he was also one of the most meaningful people in her life, someone whose presence, dedication, imagination, and spirit shaped her deeply and left an imprint on her heart that will always remain. Today, Heather shares memories of those 10 remarkable years. How did she become part of the Coral Reefer family? What life on the road was truly like, what Jimmy was like beyond the stage, and why this chapter of her life continues to mean so much. So Heather, when you think back on those 10 years with Jimmy and the Coral Reefer Band, what is the first memory that comes to your heart?
All right. Hi, Anna. Thank you so much. I am so excited to do this podcast. This is probably one of the biggest moments for me online personally, because I've always wanted to share so many things that I've personally wanted to share about touring with Jimmy. And so many people are always asking me so many different questions, and they want to know so many different stories and, what it's like and what, just in details of things about the tour, and this is really something that I feel is, I don't know. I just feel this is going to be a good one. This is going to be good. There's so many memories that come to my heart. I will always, though, remember the day that I met him. This day was something magical, something extraordinary, something electric, something aligned, just something that just went so smoothly. I had some obstacles, but I'm relentless. I'm a relentless individual. And I made my way and I made it through. And I was working as a Radio City Rockette in Las Vegas at the Flamingo Hilton. And one of the girls had called me that night in my home. I had just purchased a home, I don't know, about a year before that. And she said, she was with a lot of the other girls in her home. I don't know whose home they were in, but they were all excited. Hey, Heather, hey, we have some news. We really want you to do this. There's this guy, Jimmy Buffett. He's a singer. He has a tour and he needs this exotic kind of unique dancer, singer, actress persona to come and tour, and they asked me if I knew who he was. And I said, I'm not familiar, with him, but is there any songs that he had sung that maybe I'd had heard before? And they were laughing at me and giggling, and they said, oh yeah, you heard this song Margaritaville? And I went, oh yeah, I heard that song. Yeah, I know that song for sure. Okay, so this is the guy. Yeah, okay, all right. And he needs what? And then they told me and blah. Okay, long story short, before you know it, I think there was a manager, Charlie Fernandez, Jimmy's longtime road manager, Charlie Fernandez, had contacted me and had said that, if you would like to come, there's going to be an audition or some kind of meeting. Jimmy wants to meet with you, and there's going to be other people there, and whoever gets this opportunity to tour, he'll pay for your travels and things like that. And I said, okay, so are you making sure that, because I'm going to get this. I told him, I was like, so I'm going to get this. And I just want to make sure that you're going to get my travel tickets and stuff. anyways, so I booked a red eye out of Vegas after 2 shows one night and had to revamp on the plane. I don't know, I just took all my show makeup off from the Rockettes and had to revamp because I was coming in early in the morning to New York City. I took a car service from the airport and I went, I think it was like the Ritz-Carlton, no, Four Seasons. I think it was the Four Seasons. A friend of mine, as everyone knows, is Louisa Kendrick. She is the one that had kind of set this up, and she came and met me at the door and said, I think he's already picked his girl. And I said, no, he hasn't. And I walked right into the hotel and I, went up in that elevator and I went to the room and I kind of knocked on the door and they opened the door and I barreled in and I had my, my portfolio with me, that I had already traveled the world extensively. I was in my early 20s, but again, I had traveled over 80 countries over 10 times. I had already done that. And yeah, so Jimmy was there and Mike Ramos, his right-hand man. And there was a couple of other people. I think there was one of the girls from the Madonna tour. She was on the Erotica tour or something. And she was there for the audition and things like that. So, basically when I met him, he was smiling down the hallway. He saw me coming in. I had my black suit jacket on, black pants, black heeled boots, long brown hair, copper blonde streak, tan, just really, 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 really in tune with him. And went in. There was a circle table and I laid out my pictures and I said, look, I can do anything that you need, anything that you want, except I won't do any nude. That's my strict rule. But anything that you need, I will be able to do. So there won't be anything else that, yeah, I could do it all. So he was intrigued and he smiled at Mike and they giggled and they laughed and I took it very seriously and, he asked me if he could keep a couple of my pictures. They were like 9x11s and they were film pictures, like real film pictures from modeling events and stuff that I had taken shot from really famous photographers and all. So it was a really good vibe. I told him that I didn't know much about him, that I knew his song, but that my father's name is Jimmy. My brother's name is Jimmy. I won't forget his name. And we giggled, but really meeting him, he really felt like home automatically. And I felt like it was just really a very turning point, a pivot in my life. And I was really excited. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, I'm going to start doing something that I really am going to enjoy. And his smile, his eyes lighten up and just everything that that day, that moment meeting him, it was just like, you know what? This guy is so freaking cool. I can't wait to know about this guy. Like, I just knew I wanted to know about him. What is this guy? I've never even seen him ever perform in my life. I don't even know what he looks like performing. Like, I've only heard his song. I don't know what his tours look like. I don't know anything at this point. I don't even know what his fans look like. I have no idea. All I know is one song. And just everything was just aligning. And he said, okay, well, we'll keep you posted and whatever. So I went to this little Mexican joint afterwards. I had to get back to Vegas to do some more shows and that same night. So I was going to take a flight out. And while I was at the Mexican joint, Louisa was like, hey, I just got a message from, I think it was Mike Ramos. And she said, well, oh man, he just said you didn't, I don't know, Heather. I don't know how I should tell you. And I said, what? And she said, you got the job. You got it. You got the tour. Anyways, I was really stoked, because I had done a 3-year run with Vegas in the Rockettes. I was pretty ready to wrap that up. Loved it, did it, but I had to wrap it up. And now I'm going on a tour, and it was really invigorating for me. And so yeah, I went back to Vegas that night, and then contacted Charlie the next day, said, hey, I got the tour, pay my ticket. And that I had just paid, because I'm already I'm a negotiator. Anybody that knows me, I'm a negotiator. And so I've been my own manager. I've always, negotiated my own deals, and never had really a manager except for a couple of modeling agencies and stuff like that I worked for. But meeting Jimmy Buffett, I'm going to tell you, it was like a breath of fresh air. It was something extraordinary, like I said. And I'm just really grateful for the divine and the sources that put me through there, and just people that allowed me to even get involved in that, because he does have people around him that could easily say, I'm not thinking, or maybe, and it was really, I'm really grateful for everybody to just kind of pull me in and take me on that journey, because really it was the greatest time of my life.
So now that you have joined the Coral Reefers, what was your first rehearsal and sound check like with Jimmy? I see you laughing over here.
Oh my goodness. That is a funny question, and anybody in the band and crew would know. Well, I came on board, and I'm a tall 5'9.5", girl that is ultra flexible, ultra can do just about any kind of physical dancing, and I had a choreographer, they brought me a choreographer, which I was like, oh, I don't really need a choreographer, but okay. Well, she was a very nice person. Her name's Kyle Craig, and she works, I think, on Broadway. She was from Broadway and stuff. Very sweet soul. I know she probably looked at me like, what is going on? This girl is a wild beast. And I've always been a wild beast, and I will always be a wild beast. And she's very, she's got boundaries, and she's got, clean cut this, and she's very Broadway, tight reins, tight. So most of the choreography was very Broadway, and I laughed because I was like, oh God, this is going to be next. I knew it was going to be next, but it was just a matter of time. And, I did it. But that first dress rehearsal, when I was kicking all the way across the stage with a hi-hat, with Roger Guth on the drums with his hi-hat, and I'm kicking to the freaking cymbal crashes, and Jimmy's looking at me, and I'm going in front of him. I just looked at Jimmy and shook my head and said, I didn't choreograph this. He looked at me like, what the flying? Anyways, that was a dress rehearsal. It was my first dress rehearsal in South Carolina, because we always started tour in South Carolina. We always rehearsed in Charleston. And we had 3 weeks rehearsal. So I was, I had 3 weeks of this rehearsal knowing that I was going to be doing this, and knowing that it was not going to be in the show. But I did it. And anyways, that was a comedy act. That whole first show was, there was some beautiful parts though. Kyle did some very good choreography too. And I really am grateful for some of those pieces. And so we did have to have a meeting, him and I. He called for a meeting, and it was on the end of a deck on the beach, on his beach house. And he pulled me on the deck. It was those walkways out to the sand. And he sat me down, and we both sat down on the stairs together, and he said, I don't think this is going to work. And I literally almost lost my breath because I knew in my heart that it was just the wrong choreography for this type of show. And I knew it. And he said, Heather, it's not going to work, And he said, I'm going to have to let you go. And that was the first time I had ever done that dress rehearsal. And in my head, I'm looking at this guy in the eyes and I'm saying, he is not going to say no to me. And I looked at him and I said, nope. Give me one more chance. Give me one more opportunity. I'm going to change the choreography and we're going to make this work. Give me that opportunity. I left a place. You have to give me this opportunity. And on the next dress rehearsal, because we had 3, and the next dress rehearsal, we had to do some choreography shifting, and I was enforcing it. And it was tough. It was like pulling strings, but I was enforcing it. And I made sure that nothing that I felt very Broadway-like was going to be in there unless he needed the Broadway style in certain things. And he would tell us when. That's when we already knew that it was going to be a freaking long, long journey in this tour. And it was going to be fun because that's when everything lit up. And it was the second dress rehearsal when everything just let go and new choreography. And sometimes on purpose, I did not do the choreography that I was supposed to do. And the reason being is because I wanted that job.
What was something you had to learn quickly once you entered the touring environment?
Well, I'd say that everything, of course, was orbed around Jimmy. Everything. He was the bright, shiny star. Jimmy is Jimmy Buffett. He's the light beam. And everything, whatever that man needed, I was going to do it. Except for, again. And everything had to flow. Everything had to flow. There could not be any resistance. If there was one thing about resistance in that, he did not allow it. It was like, we got to flow. Anything that resisted was let go. So I already knew that I had to go with the flow, ride the wave. That was the main objective. And everybody had their own, they were a family. I'm coming into this family. I'm in my early 20s, They had already toured together, some of them for 30 years, some of them maybe more, 35, 40, I don't know. And so they were locked in, and I'm coming in as this young, bubbly, energy, vibrant, just electricity, lightning, and just this beam of light. I felt like it vibed, it clicked, it brought the morale was really up. It was fun. It was alive. And everything that each person and even each person in the crew, I just wanted to be able to flow with them and allow myself to just be in a good flow for them. I didn't want to resist them because they had their flow. And I was so happy to just see everybody in their realm, You had the horn section and each individual is just a different character and a different, it's a beautiful, it's a beautiful, beautiful souls and special, So that was one thing that I immediately knew. It was like, I'm coming into these people. They know each other. They're family. They have been through hundreds, if not thousands of air mile flights. They have toured just so many things, together. And I am totally brand new. I'm just a new little object in here coming in. I gotta mesh and I gotta, but I'd like to be myself as usual, but I really want to flow with them. And that's really what I did. I just caught that wave and I just went along with it. And I was really grateful for everybody just with open arms. And that was a special moment to feel even with the crew, every crew member, you know, and even with the crew. And I do know that some of the guys in the crew, they looked at me like, oh, she's this little young blonde girl. Or no, I wasn't even blonde then. She's this little young, like kind of way too bubbly, you know, way too this or way too that. And I was, but the more I felt like they got to know me and they genuinely got to know who I am, you know, especially on my emotional side, because I had very severe emotions on there my first 2 years, because I just wanted to make sure that I was doing everything right for Jimmy. That's all I wanted to do, was make sure everything was right for him and the fans, the band, the crew, and just make everybody comfortable with me. Because I am a big energy, but Jimmy is too, you know, and everybody is, but I was a really big energy because I'm in my young 20s, you know. But at the same time, just being able to come through some of the crew members that looked at me like, who in the is this, you know, girl? It's like, who the does she think she is? Well, I mean, when we had our final moments, which were really great, like it was like the moments where it was like the breakthrough moments, like, oh, wow, this girl's real. You know, she's raw. She's real. Like, that was really special to me. So those are things that really mean a lot to me. You know, like for instance, like Vander Slice, you know, he was one of the managers, the stage managers. And he was an old, you know, he Crosby, Stills and Nash. He was like, you know, he's been torn around with old school people. You know, he doesn't fool around with a bunch of, you know, little girls that's you know, singing and dancing and coming on with the shows and stuff. But, you know, the breakthrough that we had was the night this guy was literally on one of the amphitheater's roofs, and he was about ready to jump off, and Slice and I were there to help this guy that had just freaking jumped, and we were helping this guy. He was about ready to die, and it was like, and we're backstage, and like the show's going on, and we literally bonded because this guy was getting ready to die. And so the one guy, Slice, the manager, that looked at me like I was some empty shell, all of a sudden he realized, oh my God, she's real. Like, she's a real person, and she's literally leaving the stage to help somebody, you know? And that's something that that was the moment we bonded. So there's so many beautiful bonding moments, you know, with people that may have judged you or may have looked at you differently, you know, but it was special. So those things mean a lot to me.
What did you learn from watching the way Jimmy handled pressure, fame, and a huge audience?
Jimmy Buffett is literally the epitome of every single cellular superstar. This guy is beyond anything I've ever met. He is literally the smoothest, the calmest, the most compassionate, the most empathetic, the most surreal businessman. He is the enlightened one in an entire artistic, creative, and visionary realm, period. He was so calm. He was so cool and collect. He always knew how to make sure each person, whether it was individually or collaboratively, all together, come together, and he would get everybody on the same page. It could be, if there was something that was extreme, he would never do it abruptly. He wasn't an abrupt person. He was, or at least that's how he perceived in the band. And I've never experienced anything like him. I've never seen anybody move and maneuver like him. He was literally somebody that I was constantly like, this guy is, to me, he was everything that I wish that I could ever be. This man, he was so down to earth and at the same time living in a realm of riches, from rags to dreams and visions that only someone that's living on a houseboat could dream about on a full moon in the middle of the ocean without any freaking food. You know what I mean? Like, this guy just took it to the realms. He brought you to the realms and the depths of anything and wherever he wanted you to go, he brought you with him and he made you experience it. And his absolute poignant, energetic aura was so distinguished and so classic and so metamorphous. It was like a metamorphosis. He was like every little thing it was transformative. Every conversation you would be transformed. He was always leveling up every day. His whole life was leveling up, whether it was with his family, his friends, with his fans, with his music, with his art, with his creativity, with his businesses, with his real estate, with his everything he was about turned to gold. This man, his energetic force, his life force energy was, and still is, it's literally the biggest light beam. It's truly a special like feeling to even be surrounded with. And it's just, I'm so grateful. Like really, it's, you don't even understand, like to be in that realm with him, even just chilling with him, or eating with him, or everything was just so pure, honest, solid. And you can't ask for anybody or anything better than that. Ever. All of these people on the planet right now that are in CEO positions, high corporate positions, people that are multimillionaires, multi-billionaires. This man was a multi-billionaire. This man, they could learn from him. He was the most giving out of any person that I've ever met to date that had that much money. And he was so giving. He was just never greedy. He was never greedy. I'm so grateful he existed. And he still exists.
Is there a piece of advice he gave you, or maybe even a joke or conversation you shared with him that has stayed with you all these years later?
Well, he definitely gave me a lot of advice. He always gave me advice. But one stuck really. I don't know. It just stuck. Don't get me wrong. They all stuck. I will always remember his advice. Come on. But, why would you not? You got to be silly to not want to know what Jimmy's advice is, right? You've got this mogul that's like brilliant and amazing. Like who would not want, right? So the one thing that he told me, and he looked at me deep in my eyes, and he looked and he said, Heather, whatever you do ever in your life, whatever you do, don't get yourself into religion and politics. Don't ever speak about it. Please. I want you to stay protected. And I remember looking at him and I thought, whoa, like, where did that come from? Right? Like, I don't even talk about religion or politics. I mean, anybody that knows me, I don't, which is so cool, and it was like, oh, but he said that to me, and he said it with such a fierce, like, it was like from the divine, like the divine was mediating through him, like, just don't do it. And I've always remembered that. And so and anyone that knows me online, yes, they see spirituality. They see my peacefulness. They see that I'd like to bring people together. They see people, but I don't think anybody's ever seen me. And I love religions, all religions. I don't know much about each one of them, but I do know little bits here and there. And I've never posted that because I would never want to divide anybody. And I've never posted anything about politics because I would never want to divide anybody. That's something that I would never want to do. And that really makes me so exceptionally pleased that I was able to clearly get that message and that he had facilitated that message for me. Because I do see online that there's so much division with those two main subjects, and we don't need that. We don't need the division. And I've always been for, the globe, and anybody that knows me, I'm for the globe. I'm for the peaceful and yes, the higher. But he always told me, whatever you do, just don't say anything about it. I am speaking about it now, but I do want to make sure that people do understand that is something that he mentioned to me. So that I took very seriously, and I take very seriously to this day. And when I do see things online, like I do every day, like I'm sure you do too, I say, Heather, Jimmy said not to do it. So I don't comment on anything. I don't want to do that. It's not who I am. It's not what I'm supposed to be. I want to be a mediator of light and love and global peace. I would rather do it that way than to divide. So I'm really grateful for his mediation. And that was something that really hit me. So yeah, I'd say that's pretty special.
What do you feel was at the heart of Jimmy Buffett's connection with people? What was it about him that made people feel so connected to him beyond just the music?
Well, Anna, I have to say that the questions that you are literally asking are just so powerfully intriguing, first of all, but just the whole Margaritaville Parrothead scene. These questions they're real questions that people really want to know. This is something really good. Like, you really are asking some great questions. And I know that people are probably gonna, wow, those are good questions. So I am thanking you for these questions. And speaking of the question, Anna, what was the question?
Heather D, you're fired. Well, Heather D, my question was, what do you feel was at the heart of Jimmy Buffett's connection with people? What is it about him that made people feel so connected to him beyond just the music?
I feel that Jimmy Buffett is the ultimate compass. He drove people to where he felt they needed to be to envision something way beyond the nonsense on the planet and come to a feeling of joy, peace, laughter, serenity, vibes, of course, and hysterical comedy, but also pure, raw, like life force energy. And this soul, the spirit within him, it was, I know it's kind of weird to bring this in, but he moved a lot of people, and he helps a lot of people, and he will continue to help a lot of people on the planet. And his diversity with musical elements that are brought into his music. I mean, he had Zydeco, he had Caribbean, he had African, he had, just all sorts of different, Hawaiian, all sorts of different, music that he had pulled in, his rhythms, his mind, his expansion of just divine visual journeys. And he wanted to be the captain, and he was the captain of the big ship, and people are still on the ship, and he is literally guiding the way to all of those things that I just said, and those feelings that you can't quite put in a bottle and throw it in the ocean and come out to the other side and have it written in the stars and everybody just smile all together at once. But he did it. He did that. And that's like something that, how, and it was so fluid. It just was magic. He was the ultimate. And people that don't know who he is to this day, when they come into his realm, I mean, they're going to be moved. Even now, his spirit is alive. His spirit's alive, and he's moving us. And it's real, and it's bright. And, we just continue onward. If he's going to switch the sails up, we're going with him. And that's how it goes. And, I'd say he's a pretty good captain there. I enjoyed sailing with him, and I always will enjoy sailing with him. Going on a flight with him was a different story when he would take control of the plane. That was a whole thing, but we'll talk about that on another day. Especially on the Falcon Jet. Okay, remember the Falcon Jet scene? Yeah, that was scary. Yeah, okay. All right, I'll leave you at that. And I'm sure anybody that was on that flight with me, 14 of us, bye-bye. Yeah, Howard Kaufman the next day, executive saying, Jimmy, you can't fly them anymore. Yeah, so that was another story for another time. But yeah, he was an amazing captain. It just so happened that night was a little bumpy.
Awesome. It's literally, this is going to win Oscars. I'm not even kidding. Whatever the awards are on this podcast world, it's the Oscars. Okay.